Hi. So today I want to talk about the issue of controlling spouses. Now, I am a family law attorney. I'm a counselor at law. I deal with these issues every day. However, this is not legal advice. This is simply personal observations and personal advice based on my own experiences. If you need family law, legal assistance, counsel, I would seek out a qualified attorney in your jurisdiction that would be prepared to provide you with further information in regards to your specific situation. So with that disclosure out of the way, what I want to do is talk about controlling spouses. Controlling spouses are a real issue in my practice and with my clients every day. I have to deal not just with the controlling spouses, but I also have to counsel my own clients on how to handle their own controlling spouse, which is not always an easy thing to do because the spouse sort of gets into a mode of pathology where it's almost like Stockholm Syndrome, where, if you're not familiar with that, it's sort of where you sympathize with your captor, where someone who may be being completely controlled to their own detriment, they actually may be very supportive, very loving to the person who is actually controlling them and is actually doing them a lot of significant harm. And they may actually be angry at you, even though you're trying to help them. They may be angry at you for doing what they perceive to be actually attempting to harm this person that they are in love with. Or what I hear a lot is he just has some minor character flaws and it's really not a big deal. He's really a good-hearted person when it comes down to it. And if it weren't for this, everything would be great. He just has a few things he needs to work on. And it's not always men controlling women. It can be women controlling men. But obviously, generally speaking, this is what I see the most of, is controlling men. First of all, some signs of a controlling spouse. There are so many. I don't even know where to begin, but these are some of the textbook signs that are sometimes it's difficult to think that you have to point these out to people, but for those that are experiencing it, maybe they've been so brainwashed, so affected by this person that they don't see those signs, and oftentimes make every attempt, even in their own minds, to mentally sort of pretend that they don't exist, I suppose. But if you may be a victim of this, some signs you want to look for are definitely someone who asks you where you are at all times, wants to know what you're doing, where you've been, where you're going next, why didn't you call me every 10 minutes, someone who is checking your text messages, checking your emails, wants to know everyone you're friends with on Facebook, wants to know, if that guy who liked your photo, who is that guy, where does he live, where can I find him, is he married, is he single, do you think he's attractive, are you having sex with this guy? I mean, it can get really, these people can sort of read a lot into something that's potentially very innocent or harmless. And it sort of has the effect of actually making the person who didn't do anything at all, the person who maybe put a photo on Facebook, someone liked the photo, the spouse or the boyfriend or the girlfriend makes this person feel like they actually did something wrong. when they actually did nothing just by planting a seed in this person's head, making you always talking bad about you, making you feel bad about yourself, reducing your self-esteem, lowering your self-worth, attempting to keep you from succeeding in different aspects of life, such as education, workplace advancement. This person will try to isolate you from your family and your friends. It's a concentrated effort with a lot of different elements. It's like a lot of ingredients to make one recipe, and everybody operates a little differently. It's not always just going to be the brute who pumps iron and wants to control his spouse or his significant other, a girlfriend, through brute force. And this could also be obviously be between same-sex relationships as well. There's really no distinction when it comes to abuse and control. So, I have a client, or a potential client specifically, that, and obviously I can't give out any details, but she's completely spied on at every moment of every day by her husband. All of her accounts, her emails, her text messages. He has a program on her cell phone to actually inform him of any and all text messages that are occurring, and she can't really take any funds out of her bank account for fear that he's going to know why she's taking those funds out. So and that would be basically to retain an attorney, which is all very unfortunate, but the way that happens is over a period of time. The control is obviously not all at once. It's a slow process, so subtle that sometimes you may not even notice that it's happening until it's too late. Like, for instance, if you start your relationship, everything's fine, everything is equal, all is well and copacetic. Eventually, you start to notice things growing a little bit different. Maybe your significant other is becoming more and more controlling every day. Suggest that maybe, hey, we should get a joint bank account, and that I should be on your car note, your house note. I should have access to your we should have a joint Facebook account, or I should have access to your Facebook account. Down to, jealousy issues, unreasonable jealousy issues. Now, there are jealousy issues that will arise in relationships that are potentially reasonable, but we're talking about unreasonable, where you can't even talk to someone of the opposite sex, or if you're in a same-sex relationship, you can't talk to someone of the same sex, with little to no explanation as to why, or unreasonable reactions to interactions and communications of someone who that person might find to be threatening in some way. Or if there's maybe for instance, a heterosexual relationship where there's a same-sex best friend who may be providing certain observations or certain advice that would tend to empower the victim of the control and the abuse. Odds are that controlling person is going to attempt to remove that individual from the life of the target of the abuse. So, why do I say all this? Well, it's all in an effort to interweave the lives of these two people together so much that it strengthens the very ability of the controlling person to leverage their control, because they have that power, because they're so connected. So the more involved you are with that person, the more that you're going to justify their behavior and their activities in your mind because, hey, you've built a life with this person. You have, we have a house together. We have kids together. We have we have a car together. Whatever, we have experiences together. We have, my family knows him and loves him, and I know and love his family and all that good stuff. We have a dog together. He has my record collection. Whatever. Basically, a lot of these victims will do anything to justify, at any and all cost, even unreasonable costs, the behavior of the controlling person, and tend to minimize it and minimize its effect on the victim. And then this is all in an effort to not just gain control, but to keep control. So, one thing that is very important to understand, if you feel you're the victim of the abuse, is that there is always a way out. That method of getting out, once you've actually realized what's going on and you realize that you're not going to deal with it, put up with it any longer, is different depending upon the person. But the hardest part, in my experience, has been getting the victim to actually realize and understand that they are a victim and that they are being abused and that they are being controlled. Even down to something as subtle as and seemingly insignificant as body language. I oftentimes will comment to my wife about something that is incredibly subtle, but I actually heard the actress Helen Mirren come out in the media and actually talk about this very thing that had always sort of been a pet peeve of mine, which I found quite interesting, and sort of, the public reaction has been a little bit negative against her, but I see where she's coming from, and I agree with it. And what it is Helen Mirren really apparently has a pet peeve herself in the same regard, is that it's guys that tend to do this movement where they put their entire arm, around the neck and the shoulders of their girlfriend, their wife, their significant other, and sort of lean on them. Now, I will see this on occasion, usually big, buff, burly guys, and they're significantly smaller, probably more petite girlfriends or spouses. And they'll be doing this, and for instance, walking through the grocery store, or walking through the Target, or the mall, the shopping mall, or whatever. Some people, probably most people, would take that as a sign of affection. Okay, and I think that's kind of where this reaction has been with the Helen Mirren issue, is that it's, relax, take it easy, calm down. It's just a sign of affection. Why would you have a problem with someone putting their arm around someone? But I see where she's coming from, and I believe it's not so much in what the action is, but how it is achieved, right? Not so much in what is said, but how it is said. You oftentimes hear, well, this is, to me, is not so much what is done. If I approach my wife, I put my arm around her, around the small of her back. It sort of shows my affection for her, but at the same time, it's sort of, body language that we're equal on some level, okay? However, I find the cuffing with the bicep, the arm, around the neck, the leaning, the grabbing, the dragging around, under the guise of being loving and affectionate, to be absolutely repulsive. And again, it's subtle. And I'm not saying that everyone that does this is that way. But it's funny because anytime I ever imitate a controlling person, just playing around, I'll always do that. I'll always put my arm around, for instance, if I'm, playing a part, which I sometimes do with my wife, of the controlling spouse, for instance, I'll put my arm around her neck. And I'll do things like call her babe and other, demeaning or, potentially misogynistic nicknames. And really, what I'm doing is a personification and a parody of a certain personality type. And I think that's kind of the way that you cope, especially in my field. It's kind of the way that you cope with people like this, because you recognize what they're doing. You recognize their misogynistic behavior, their controlling behavior. And there's actually, there's very little you can do to convince a victim other than try to lead them down the right path, open their eyes. And so, to me, helping them, attempt to at least find ways to escape this sort of victimization is a new focus of mine, I think. It's a new goal that I have. And I plan for this to be a first of a series of videos, not just about victimization per se, or the recognition of a controlling spouse, but also about just success in marriage and relationships in life. So, to round this out, this particular discussion, it's not just important to recognize when you have a potentially controlling spouse or significant other, but it's important, number one, not to actually let it happen in the first place. Some ways that you can achieve that, in my opinion, are to never succumb to the idea that you need to have joint bank accounts, that you need to share Facebook passwords, Instagram passwords, that somebody needs to know where you are at all times, all hours of the day. Because when you think about what that's saying, it's saying that I don't trust you as my spouse. So it's either I don't trust you or I want to control you, specifically, is why I'm doing this. It's these two motivations. It's the only reason. What other perceivable reason could there be? Is that I don't trust you around other people, or I'm doing this specifically to control you. And even the very question and the continued questioning of where are you at, what are you doing, who were you with, what was this $5 taken out of the bank account for today, who liked that photo on your Facebook page, who is this email from? It plants a seed, and it gets you to thinking differently. It gets you to thinking that maybe you have done something wrong, are doing something wrong. So if you see these signs early in a relationship, do not succumb to them. Maintain your individuality. Do not do anything for someone just to earn their affection, to earn their approval. This is an early sign, and things aren't going to change down the line. I mean, things aren't going to get better. This person is not going to be one day just, you know what, all that stuff I was talking about, all the passwords and all those guys you were talking to, I'm over all that now. Everything's great. I trust you completely, and you go live your life, and I'll trust you 100%. No. Someone is either going to be like that at the beginning of a relationship, or they're not. And the deeper that you sink into a relationship that starts out that way, probably the worse it's going to get. Because as I mentioned before, people like this have a tendency to interweave their existence with you so much so that you can't pull apart easily, right? The more fingers you can interweave, it's more difficult to pull apart. And that's their goal. That's what they want to do. They want you to be so wrapped up in them and questioning yourself so much and actually seeking their approval for unreasonable and unjustified purposes. And this can overtake your absolute entire existence. Once you are a victim, it's a little bit different. That's as much of a personal journey and a personal process, I think, as anything. And, I may not be 100% qualified to speak on the medical and scientific methods, psychological methods that should be utilized. But odds are, if you're seeking out information, if you're watching this video, you probably are being victimized on some level. And you should at least seek out some counsel. So you can seek out medical counsel. You can seek out legal counsel to qualified professionals in your jurisdiction. So this is the first of hopefully many great videos on different subject matters on life and marital success and support. And I look forward to our continued series.